In a galaxy far beyond the reach of Earth's telescopes, the Galactic Council convened in their grand amphitheater. The Council was an alliance of advanced alien species, beings with shimmering scales, translucent bodies, and minds that could calculate the orbits of stars in seconds. They saw themselves as the guardians of the cosmos, the pinnacle of evolution. Humanity, however, was not on their list of priorities. At the center of the chamber floated a holographic image of Earth, a pale blue dot surrounded by swirling clouds. To the Council, it looked insignificant, like a speck of dust compared to the sprawling empires of other species. Ambassador Zixar, a towering insectoid creature with iridescent wings, flicked one of his many limbs dismissively. "They're just humans," he said, his voice echoing through the hall. "Apes with rockets, barely out of their caves." The human delegation stood awkwardly at the edge of the room. Their leader, Dr. Elena Voss, clenched her fists but kept her composure. She had spent years preparing for this moment, studying alien languages and customs to ensure humanity would be taken seriously. But now, standing before these colossal beings, she felt small, not because of their size or power, but because of their arrogance. "Your species is young," another council member chimed in. This one was a gelatinous blob suspended in a glowing tank, its voice transmitted through a series of clicks and hums. "You've barely scratched the surface of space travel. Why should we waste our time on you?" Elena stepped forward, her heart pounding. "We may be young," she began, her voice steady despite the weight of the stares aimed at her, "but we have potential. We've overcome wars, diseases, and natural disasters. We've built machines that can explore other planets. We want to learn from you, to contribute to the greater good of the galaxy." The council erupted into laughter, a cacophony of sounds that made Elena's skin crawl. One member, a serpentine being with eyes like molten gold, slithered closer. "Contribute," it hissed. "You cannot even govern your own planet without conflict. Your leaders squabble over resources while your people starve. You are unworthy." Elena opened her mouth to argue, but before she could speak, alarms blared throughout the chamber. A massive screen flickered to life, displaying a view of Earth's solar system. Thousands of unidentified ships were approaching, their sleek metallic forms glinting ominously in the sunlight. The council fell silent, their amusement replaced by confusion. "What is this?" Zixar demanded, turning to his aides. "Who dares enter our territory unannounced?" The ships moved with precision, forming a perfect ring around Earth's orbit. No weapons were fired, no messages transmitted. They simply waited. Back on Earth, scientists scrambled to analyze the fleet, their instruments picking up strange energy signatures that defied explanation. Governments held emergency meetings, debating whether to prepare for war or attempt communication. The council quickly regained its composure. "It's probably nothing," Zixar declared, waving a clawed hand. "Some rogue faction passing through. Not worth our concern." He turned back to Elena, smirking. "See, even your gods ignore you." But deep down, uncertainty gnawed at him. Something about those ships didn't feel right. And as the days passed with no explanation, the council couldn't shake the feeling that perhaps, for once, they had underestimated humanity. After all, why would such an enormous armada appear unless someone, or something, had deemed Earth important? Little did they know, the arrival of the fleet marked the beginning of a reckoning that would change the fate of the galaxy forever. The Armada loomed in Earth's sky like a silent storm. Its ships were massive, their surfaces smooth and metallic, reflecting sunlight in dazzling bursts that could be seen even during the day. On Earth, people gathered in streets and parks, craning their necks to catch a glimpse of the mysterious fleet. Some whispered prayers, others snapped photos, hoping to capture proof of what they were witnessing. Governments scrambled to respond, but no one knew where to begin. In the United Nations headquarters, world leaders convened for an emergency meeting. The room buzzed with tension as diplomats argued over how to handle the situation. "We need to send a message," One official shouted, "Show them we're not afraid." Another countered, "What if they attack? We can't risk provoking them." Dr. Elena Voss watched silently from the corner of the room. She had returned from her humiliating encounter with the Galactic Council just days earlier, only to find herself thrust into another crisis. Her mind raced with questions. Who were these beings? Why had they come now? And most importantly, what did they want? Meanwhile, in space, the Armada remained eerily still. It didn't fire weapons or deploy troops. Instead, it simply hovered, casting long shadows across continents below. Scientists monitored every movement, analyzing signals emitted by the ships. At first, there was nothing, just static. But then, late on the third night, a single transmission broke through. "We are here to observe." The message was brief, spoken in perfect English, though its tone was devoid of emotion. It sent shockwaves around the globe. News outlets broadcast the recording repeatedly, dissecting every syllable. Conspiracy theories spread like wildfire. Were the aliens hostile, friendly, or something entirely beyond human comprehension? Back at the UN, tempers flared. "This is exactly why we shouldn't have trusted those alien snobs." General Carter barked, slamming his fist on the table. He was referring to the Galactic Council, whose dismissal of humanity now felt more insulting than ever. "If they won't help us, we'll deal with this ourselves." Alina raised her hand cautiously. "General, we don't even know if they're a threat yet," she said. "Attacking blindly could make things worse. And doing nothing will leave us sitting ducks." Carter shot back. Before the argument could escalate further, a new voice interrupted. "Let me try talking to them." Everyone turned to see Commander Marcus Hale standing near the doorway. A decorated astronaut with piercing blue eyes and a calm demeanor, Marcus had been called in as an advisor after news of the Armada broke. He stepped forward, addressing the group. "If they're observing us, maybe they're waiting for us to take the first step." Reluctantly, the assembly agreed to let him attempt communication. Using a high-powered transmitter mounted on the International Space Station, Marcus recorded a message. "To whoever you are," he began, his voice steady, "we mean no harm. We are humans, inhabitants of this planet. We wish to understand your purpose here." Hours passed without a reply. Just as hope began to fade, one of the largest ships descended slowly into Earth's atmosphere. It stopped above the Atlantic Ocean, hovering silently. Then, without warning, a smaller craft detached from the mothership and headed toward New York City. Panic erupted as the ship landed in Central Park, its sleek surface gleaming under floodlights. Soldiers surrounded the area, weapons drawn, while crowds gathered at a safe distance. The air was thick with fear and anticipation. Finally, a hatch opened, revealing nothing. There was no sign of life inside. Curiosity got the better of Marcus. Against orders, he approached the craft alone, his hands raised to show he was unarmed. As he neared, a holographic projection flickered to life before him. It showed images of Earth, its mountains, oceans, cities, but also scenes of war, destruction, and suffering. The message was clear. The visitors knew everything about humanity, both good and bad. Marcus swallowed hard. "What do you want from us?" he asked aloud, though he doubted he'd get an answer. For a moment, there was silence. Then, a single word echoed in his mind, unspoken yet unmistakable: "Wait." And so, humanity waited, unsure whether salvation or doom awaited them. Days turned into weeks, and the Armada remained a silent presence in Earth's orbit. Its ships didn't move, its occupants didn't communicate further, and yet its shadow loomed over humanity like an unanswered question. Governments around the world struggled to maintain order as fear and paranoia spread. Conspiracy theories multiplied, and protests erupted in cities worldwide. Some demanded action, others called for surrender. Amidst the chaos, Dr. Elena Voss found herself working tirelessly in a makeshift research lab beneath NASA headquarters. Elena had always been driven by curiosity, but now her determination bordered on obsession. She spent long hours poring over data collected from the Armada's energy signatures, searching for anything that might explain their purpose or origin. Her team of scientists worked alongside her, running simulations and analyzing patterns. But it wasn't until late one night, when most of the staff had gone home, that she stumbled upon something extraordinary. "Wait, what is this?" Elena muttered to herself, staring at her computer screen. A series of faint signals emitted by the Armada matched an unusual pattern she'd seen before. But where? She rifled through old files until she found it. A decades-old study on ancient artifacts discovered buried deep beneath the sands of Africa. These relics, believed to be millions of years old, contained strange inscriptions and symbols that no one had ever fully deciphered. What caught Elena's attention was the similarity between those symbols and the energy readings from the Armada. Her heart raced as she cross-referenced the data. It was undeniable. The Armada's technology bore traces of the same mysterious language found on the artifacts. Could it mean that humanity had encountered these beings, or their ancestors, long ago? And if so, why were they returning now? The next morning, Elena rushed to share her findings with Commander Marcus Hale, who was overseeing military preparations in case the Armada turned hostile. They met in a secure briefing room, where maps and schematics covered the walls. When Elena explained her discovery, Marcus leaned back in his chair, his brow furrowed. "You're saying these aliens have been watching us for millions of years?" he asked skeptically. "Not just watching," Elena replied. "Influencing. Those artifacts suggest they may have played a role in shaping human evolution, maybe even seeding life on Earth." Marcus shook his head, trying to wrap his mind around the implications. If that's true, then why show up now? Why after all this time? Elena hesitated. Maybe because we've reached a tipping point. Humanity has advanced faster than anyone expected. We've developed nuclear weapons, artificial intelligence, space travel. Maybe they're here to see if we're ready for the next step. Before Marcus could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. A technician burst into the room, breathless. "Dr. Voss, Commander Hale, you need to see this." They hurried to the main control center, where monitors displayed new activity from the Armada. One of the smaller ships had detached from the fleet and was descending toward Earth again. This time, however, it wasn't heading for a major city. It was targeting a remote desert region in Africa, near the site where the artifacts had been unearthed. Elena's mind raced. "That can't be a coincidence," she said. "Whatever's down there, they want it." Without hesitation, Marcus grabbed a radio. "I'm assembling a team. We're going to intercept them." Elena stepped forward, her voice firm. "Then I'm coming with you. If they're looking for something tied to those artifacts, I need to be there." As helicopters lifted off, carrying Marcus, Elena, and a squad of soldiers toward the desert, neither of them knew what awaited them. But one thing was certain: the Armada wasn't just observing anymore. It was acting, and humanity's future might depend on understanding why. Far above, the Council watched silently, their confidence shaken. For the first time, they began to wonder if dismissing humanity as insignificant had been a grave mistake. The desert stretched endlessly under the blazing sun, its golden waves shimmering like molten glass. Commander Marcus Hale stood at the edge of a makeshift landing zone, his hand resting on the grip of his sidearm. Behind him, Dr. Elena Voss adjusted her goggles, shielding her eyes from the glare as she scanned the horizon. The alien ship descended slowly, its sleek surface reflecting the sunlight in sharp bursts that made it hard to look directly at. "This is it," Marcus said, his voice low but steady. "Stay close, and don't do anything reckless." Elena nodded, though her mind was racing. She clutched a small tablet loaded with data about the ancient artifacts buried nearby. If the Armada was here for those relics, then humanity's history, and perhaps its destiny, was tied to what lay beneath the sands. As the ship touched down, A cloud of dust billowed outward, forcing everyone to shield their faces. When the air cleared, a hatch opened and a beam of light spilled onto the ground. Out stepped a figure unlike anything they had ever seen. It was tall, humanoid in shape, but covered in a metallic exoskeleton that shimmered faintly. Its face was obscured by a smooth, featureless mask, save for two glowing slits where its eyes should have been. For a moment, no one moved. Then the being raised a hand, and a holographic projection appeared above it. Images flickered rapidly, scenes of Earth's past, interspersed with symbols eerily similar to those found on the artifacts. Finally, the projection settled on a single message written in plain English. "You are not alone." Marcus took a cautious step forward. "Who are you?" he called out, his voice carrying across the barren landscape. "What do you want?" The beam tilted its head slightly, as if studying him. Then it spoke, not with words, but directly into their minds. "We are the architects. We seeded life across the stars. You are our creation." A chill ran down Alina's spine. Her theory had been right. They weren't just visitors. They were creators. But why reveal themselves now? Before she could process the revelation, the being continued. "Your species stands at a crossroads. Prove your worth, or face extinction." Marcus frowned. "Prove ourselves how?" "3 trials await you," came the reply. "Unity, innovation, compassion. Fail any, and your experiment ends." Before either of them could ask more questions, the being turned and re-entered the ship. The hatch closed, and within moments, the craft descended into the sky, leaving behind only silence. Back at the command center, news of the encounter spread quickly. World leaders convened once again, this time joined by representatives from every nation. Fear gave way to determination as humanity realized it was being tested, not by enemies, but by its own makers. "We can't fail," Alina insisted during an emergency meeting. "This isn't just about survival. It's about showing them, and ourselves, that we're capable of greatness." Marcus agreed. "But we'll need global cooperation. No divisions, no excuses." Under Alina's guidance, plans were drawn up for each trial. Scientists, engineers, and diplomats worked around the clock, pooling resources and ideas. Meanwhile, Marcus coordinated military forces to ensure stability during what would undoubtedly be a chaotic period. Far away, the Galactic Council watched with growing unease. They had sent envoys to the Armada earlier, hoping to curry favor, but the architects ignored them completely. For the first time, the Council felt powerless and jealous. Humanity, dismissed as primitive, was now receiving attention from beings far greater than themselves. As preparations began for the first trial, Alina and Marcus shared a quiet moment outside the command center. The weight of responsibility hung heavy on their shoulders. But there was also hope. "If we succeed," Alina said softly, "we won't just survive. We'll prove that even the smallest beginnings can lead to something extraordinary." Marcus nodded. "Then let's get to work." Little did they know, the trials would push humanity to its limits and force them to confront truths about themselves they weren't ready to face. The first trial began without warning. One morning, as the sun rose over Earth's cities, every television screen, smartphone, and radio station flickered to life with the same message from the architects. "Trial of Unity begins now." Below the text was a holographic map displaying coordinates scattered across the globe. Each location glowed red, marking places humanity had long fought over, borders, disputed territories, and regions ravaged by conflict. Dr. Elena Voss and Commander Marcus Hale stood in the command center, watching as chaos erupted worldwide. Military forces mobilized, governments scrambled for answers, and civilians panicked. The architect's instructions were clear but cryptic: cooperate or perish. "What does it mean?" Marcus asked, his voice tense. "Are they testing us to see if we'll fight?" Alina shook her head. "It's deeper than that. They're forcing us to confront our divisions, to prove we can work together despite our differences." Before they could discuss further, an emergency alert flashed on the monitors. A massive simulation had activated at one of the marked locations, a barren desert near the Middle East. Thousands of drones materialized in the sky, projecting images of opposing armies armed with advanced weaponry. These weren't real soldiers, but their presence felt terrifyingly authentic. Explosions lit up the horizon, shaking the ground beneath anyone who ventured close. "This isn't just a test," Marcus muttered. "It's a battlefield." Alina clenched her fists. "And we're supposed to stop it, not with force, but through cooperation." World leaders convened via video link, arguing over how to respond. Some advocated sending troops to neutralize the threat. Others pushed for diplomatic solutions. Amidst the discord, Alina proposed a bold plan. "We send unarmed emissaries from every nation involved," she said. "No weapons, no posturing. Just people willing to talk." Her idea was met with skepticism, but Marcus supported her. "If we go in guns blazing, we fail the trial before it even starts. This is about trust, not firepower." Reluctantly, the coalition agreed. Teams of diplomats, scientists, and ordinary citizens were assembled and dispatched to each site. Alina and Marcus joined the team heading to the desert simulation, their hearts pounding as they approached the holographic war zone. As they stepped into the fray, the simulated soldiers turned toward them. For a moment, it seemed like the drones might attack, but then they froze, waiting. A booming voice echoed around them. "Prove your unity. Stand together or fall apart." Alina stepped forward, raising her hands to show she was unarmed. "We're here to end this," she called out, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her veins. Slowly, representatives from rival nations joined her, forming a circle in the middle of the battlefield. They linked arms, symbolizing solidarity, while cameras broadcast the act to billions around the world. For several agonizing minutes, nothing happened. Then, one by one, the holographic soldiers vanished, replaced by beams of light that shot into the sky. The simulation ended, leaving only silence behind. Back at the command center, cheers erupted as news spread that the first trial had been passed. But Alina and Marcus exchanged worried glances. This was only the beginning, and the next challenge would demand far more than symbolic gestures. Far above, the architects observed silently, their glowing forms flickering faint once again. Humanity had proven it could cooperate, but innovation and compassion were harder tests to pass, and time was running out. The second trial arrived just as humanity was beginning to breathe a sigh of relief. After the success of the trial of unity, there was a fragile sense of hope, but it didn't last long. Without warning, massive structures began appearing in Earth's orbit. These weren't ships, but intricate constructs resembling colossal puzzles made of glowing geometric shapes. Each piece floated separately, spinning slowly against the backdrop of space. A message from the architects echoed across every communication channel on Earth. Trial of innovation begins now. Solve the construct or face failure. Dr. Elena Voss stared at the monitors, her mind racing. "It's like they're testing whether we can think beyond ourselves," she murmured. Commander Marcus Hale stood beside her, his jaw tight with determination. "If this is about innovation, then we'll need the best minds working together." Within hours, teams of engineers, physicists, and mathematicians from around the world were assembled. Humanity's brightest gathered in observatories, laboratories, and makeshift command centers, analyzing the floating construct. The pieces seemed to follow complex patterns that defied conventional physics, shifting positions unpredictably. Every attempt to approach them with spacecraft ended in failure. The constructs repelled any ship that came too close. Elena took charge of coordinating the effort, her calm demeanor steadying nerves frayed by stress. "We can't rely on brute force here," she said during one strategy meeting. "This isn't about conquering something, it's about understanding it." As days passed, frustration mounted. Nations argued over who should lead the project, and some scientists clashed over differing theories. Progress stalled until an unexpected breakthrough came, not from a renowned expert, but from a young engineering student named Priya Patel. While examining the data, she noticed something no one else had. The geometric patterns corresponded to ancient mathematical sequences discovered centuries ago. "This isn't random," Priya explained excitedly, pointing to her calculations. "These shapes are based on fractals, patterns found in nature, like snowflakes or galaxies. If we replicate those patterns using sound waves, maybe we can align the pieces." Marcus immediately ordered a prototype device built. Engineers worked around the clock, constructing a satellite equipped with harmonic emitters designed to generate specific frequencies. Alina watched anxiously as the satellite was launched into orbit, its trajectory aimed directly at the construct. When the device activated, sending out resonant tones, the results were instantaneous. The glowing shapes began to shift, aligning perfectly into a single, cohesive structure. As the final piece clicked into place, a bright light enveloped the construct, illuminating Earth's atmosphere. Then, without warning, a portal opened within the structure. From it emerged another being, an architect, taller and more imposing than the one they'd encountered before. Its metallic exoskeleton shimmered with iridescent hues, and its voice reverberated not just in their ears, but in their very thoughts. "You have proven your capacity for innovation," the architect declared. "But know this: intelligence alone does not define greatness. Your final trial will test what truly sets you apart, your ability to feel." Before anyone could respond, the being vanished, leaving behind silence. Back on Earth, celebrations erupted once again. Humanity had solved the impossible puzzle, proving its ingenuity to the architects. But Alina and Marcus exchanged uneasy glances. The next trial would demand more than logic or skill. It would require humanity to confront its deepest flaws. Far above, the Galactic Council observed silently, their arrogance replaced by unease. They had dismissed humans as primitive, yet these apes had accomplished what even advanced species struggled with. For the first time, doubt crept into their minds. Had they underestimated humanity? And somewhere in the vastness of space, the architects prepared the final challenge, one that would determine whether humanity deserved a place among the stars or oblivion. The third trial arrived with a quiet intensity that chilled humanity to its core. Unlike the previous challenges, there was no grand announcement, no dazzling display in the sky. Instead, a single alien vessel descended into Earth's atmosphere and landed in a remote stretch of ocean near Antarctica. Within hours, news spread. Inside the ship was a cryogenic chamber containing an injured alien species, fragile, unconscious beings clinging to life. A message from the architects accompanied the discovery. "Trial of compassion begins now. Save them or lose yourselves." Dr. Elena Voss and Commander Marcus Hale were summoned immediately to assess the situation. The alien creatures were unlike anything humanity had encountered before. Their translucent bodies pulsed faintly with bioluminescent light, and their frail forms suggested they were dying, or already dead. Around the cryogenic chamber, holographic instructions flickered, detailing complex medical procedures and chemical compounds unfamiliar to human science. "This isn't just about saving lives," Alina said softly as she studied the data. "It's about proving we care enough to try." Marcus nodded grimly. "But how do we even begin? We don't have the tools or knowledge to heal something like this." Alina turned to him, her eyes sharp with resolve. "Then we'll create them." Back at the command center, teams of doctors, biologists, and engineers worked tirelessly to decode the alien instructions. Time was running out. The aliens' vital signs were weakening by the hour. Arguments erupted over the best course of action. Some scientists argued for cautious experimentation. Others pushed for bold interventions. Meanwhile, global tensions flared as nations debated whether resources should be diverted to help these unknown beings. Amidst the chaos, a young biologist named Dr. Samir Khan proposed an unconventional idea. "What if we use Earth-based treatments? Adapt what we know about repairing damaged tissue and apply it here. His suggestion sparked heated debate, but Elena saw merit in his approach. We don't have time to wait for perfect solutions, she told the team. We adapt, improvise, and hope it's enough. With Marcus coordinating logistics, Elena led the effort to synthesize hybrid treatments combining human medicine with insights gleaned from the alien instructions. It was risky, untested, and exhausting work, but slowly progress began to show. The aliens' vitals stabilized slightly, giving the team a glimmer of hope. However, the true test came not from the science, but from humanity's willingness to prioritize compassion over fear. As supplies dwindled and costs mounted, protests erupted worldwide. Critics accused the project of wasting resources on strangers when millions of humans still suffered poverty and disease. Even within the team, doubts surfaced. Was it worth risking everything for beings who might never understand or appreciate the sacrifice? One night, as Elena monitored the alien's condition, Marcus approached her. "Do you think we're doing the right thing?" he asked quietly. "Not everyone believes in this." She looked at him, her expression steady. "Compassion isn't about being thanked, Marcus. It's about choosing to help, even when it's hard. If we fail this trial, it won't just be because we couldn't save them. It'll be because we stopped caring." Her words resonated deeply. Volunteers poured in from around the globe, offering skills, supplies, and support. Ordinary citizens organized fundraisers, while artists painted murals honoring the effort. Slowly, humanity united, not out of obligation, but out of empathy. Days later, the final treatment was administered. For hours, the room held its breath. Then, one by one, the aliens' bodies began to glow brighter, their pulses growing stronger. They weren't fully healed, but they were alive. Far above, the architects observed silently, their glowing forms flickering faintly. Humanity had passed the trial of compassion, but the real question remained: could they sustain such unity when faced with the galaxy's greatest challenges? And somewhere in the shadows, the Galactic Council watched, their disdain replaced by grudging respect. Perhaps, they thought, humanity wasn't as primitive as they'd believed. The final verdict came without fanfare. One evening, as Earth's leaders gathered anxiously in the United Nations Assembly Hall, a massive holographic projection filled the sky above New York City. Billions watched live as the towering figure of an architect appeared, its metallic exoskeleton shimmering like liquid silver under the moonlight. Its voice echoed not just through speakers, but directly into the minds of every human on the planet. "Your trials are complete," it declared, its tone calm yet commanding. "You have proven unity, innovation, and compassion. But your journey is far from over." Dr. Elena Voss and Commander Marcus Hale stood at the front of the assembly, their faces pale with anticipation. Behind them, world leaders exchanged uneasy glances. The architects had judged humanity worthy. But what came next? Before anyone could ask, the architect continued. "The Galactic Council has ruled this galaxy for millennia, yet they have grown stagnant, arrogant, and blind to the needs of others. They deemed you unworthy, primitive, and insignificant, yet you have shown potential where they have failed." A ripple of shock spread through the crowd. The council members, who had been observing remotely, froze in disbelief. Their glowing forms flickered nervously as the architect turned its gaze toward them. "Your time as stewards of the galaxy ends now." Panic erupted among the council. Ambassador Zixar, the insectoid creature who had once mocked humanity, stepped forward defiantly. "This is outrageous," he hissed, his wings trembling with rage. "You cannot strip us of our authority." The architect's response was swift and merciless. "Authority must be earned, not inherited. You have squandered your gifts, while humanity has risen despite its flaws. The future belongs to those who grow, adapt, and care for others." With that, the council's symbols of power, their badges, insignias, and even their advanced technology, vanished. Stripped of their influence, they were left powerless, reduced to mere spectators. For the first time in eons, they felt fear. Back on Earth, cheers erupted as humanity realized the magnitude of what had just happened. The architects weren't simply testing them. They were replacing the council with something new, humanity itself. But the celebration was short-lived. As the architect addressed the crowd again, its tone grew serious. Do not mistake this victory for perfection. Your species remains flawed, divided by greed, hatred, and fear. The challenges ahead will test you further. Will you rise to meet them, or will you falter? Elena stepped forward, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. We won't give up, she said firmly. We've come too far to turn back now. The architect studied her for a moment before nodding slowly. Then take your place among the stars. But remember, leadership demands sacrifice. Protect the weak. Learn from failure. And never forget why you were chosen. With that, the projection faded, leaving behind silence. Across the globe, people processed what had happened. Humanity had been given a second chance, a chance to rewrite. In the weeks following the architect's judgment, humanity stood at a crossroads. The Galactic Council had been stripped of its power, their once mighty empire reduced to ruins. Some council members disappeared entirely, while others lingered in shame, watching silently as humans began taking their first steps into the galactic stage. But with great opportunity came even greater responsibility, and the weight of leadership pressed heavily on Earth's shoulders. Dr. Elena Voss found herself at the center of it all. Appointed as humanity's liaison to the galaxy, she worked tirelessly to establish alliances with other species. Embassies were built in major cities around the world, each one designed to welcome alien diplomats and foster understanding. For the first time, humanity wasn't just reaching out, it was being embraced in return. Commander Marcus Hale, now promoted to Admiral of the newly formed Interstellar Defense Fleet, oversaw efforts to protect weaker civilizations from threats lurking in the dark corners of space. Pirates, rogue factions, and ancient dangers still roamed the cosmos, and humanity quickly learned that peace required vigilance. Under Marcus's leadership, Earth's fleet became a symbol of hope rather than conquest, a stark contrast to the oppressive tactics of the old council. Yet not everyone welcomed humanity's rise. In the shadows, whispers of dissent spread among certain alien factions who resented Earth's sudden prominence. They're inexperienced, one ambassador muttered during a tense negotiation. How can they lead when they barely understand themselves? Elena faced these criticisms head-on, her calm demeanor disarming even the harshest critics. You're right, she admitted during one heated debate. We don't have all the answers, but we're willing to listen, learn, and grow. Isn't that what true leadership is about? Her words resonated deeply, earning respect from allies and skeptics alike. Slowly but surely, humanity began carving out its place in the stars, not through force, but through humility and determination. Meanwhile, ordinary citizens played an unexpected role in shaping this new era. Artists created murals celebrating interstellar unity. Musicians composed symphonies blending human and alien instruments, and grassroots movements emerged to address shared challenges like climate change and resource scarcity. Humanity's flaws remained. Greed, division, and fear still lingered, but so did its capacity for growth. One day, as Elena gazed at the night sky from her balcony, Marcus joined her, holding 2 cups of coffee. Hard to believe how far we've come, he said, handing her a cup. Feels like just yesterday we were arguing over whether to send a message. Elena smiled faintly. And now look at us, building bridges instead of walls. But Marcus's expression turned serious. It's not over yet. The architects gave us a chance, but they didn't promise it'd be easy. There are still battles ahead, ones we might not win. I know, Elena replied softly. But isn't that what makes it worth fighting for? We're not perfect, but we're trying. That's more than anyone else has done. Far above, the architects observed silently, their glowing forms flickering faintly. They had chosen well, But their final message lingered in Alina's mind. Your journey has only begun. Little did humanity know, the galaxy held secrets darker and more dangerous than anything they had faced before. Somewhere in the void, ancient forces stirred, forces that saw humanity not as saviors, but as intruders. And soon, those forces would demand answers of their own. For now, though, humanity basked in the light of a new dawn, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Months passed, and humanity's presence in the galaxy grew stronger. Earth became a hub of diplomacy, trade, and innovation, its cities transformed by alien technology and culture. Dr. Alina Voss continued to lead diplomatic efforts, forging alliances with species once hostile or indifferent to humanity. Commander Marcus Hale's interstellar defense fleet patrolled the stars, ensuring peace in regions plagued by chaos. Humanity had proven itself capable of growth, but the universe was vast, and not all its corners welcomed newcomers. One day, while monitoring deep space signals, scientists detected an anomaly near the edge of explored space. A massive energy surge emanated from a distant star system, a phenomenon unlike anything recorded before. At first, it seemed like a natural event, but further analysis revealed something chilling. The surge carried traces of ancient symbols eerily similar to those found on Earth's artifacts. Alina immediately called an emergency meeting. "This isn't random," she said, pointing to the data on the screen. "These symbols match the ones tied to the architects. Whoever, or whatever, is causing this knows about them." Marcus frowned. "You think it's connected to the architects?" "I don't know," Alina admitted. "But if it is, we need to investigate. Ignoring it could mean disaster." A small expedition team was assembled, led by Alina and Marcus aboard the Horizon, Earth's most advanced spacecraft. As they approached the source of the signal, the crew felt a growing unease. The star system was eerily silent, its planets barren and lifeless, except for one. On the fourth planet, they discovered a colossal structure buried beneath layers of ash and dust. Its surface was covered in the same symbols that had haunted humanity's journey thus far. "This place, it feels wrong," muttered Lieutenant Avachen, the ship's engineer, as they stepped inside. The air was thick with static electricity, and faint whispers echoed through the halls, though no one spoke. At the heart of the structure lay a chamber filled with holographic projections. They showed scenes of destruction. Entire civilizations wiped out, their planets reduced to rubble. In the center stood a figure cloaked in shadow, its eyes glowing with malevolence. It turned to face them, speaking directly into their minds. "You are unworthy." Before anyone could react, alarms blared throughout the ship. Back on Earth, global communication networks went dark. The Galactic Council, thought defeated, re-emerged with shocking news. The architects were not benevolent creators. They were enforcers, sent to maintain balance by eradicating species deemed too dangerous to exist. "They tested you," Zixer hissed, appearing on a stolen broadcast. "And now they will destroy you." Panic erupted across the galaxy. Humanity's newfound allies wavered, unsure whether to trust Earth or abandon it. But Alina refused to give up. "We've faced extinction before," she told the crew. "We'll find a way to stop this, to prove we're more than just survivors." As the shadowy figure prepared to unleash devastation, Marcus made a daring decision. Using the Horizon's experimental weapons, he targeted the structure, collapsing it in a fiery explosion. The entity screamed, its form dissolving into nothingness. When the dust settled, the architects reappeared, their glowing forms flickering faintly. "You have chosen defiance over submission," they said. "Perhaps you are ready after all." With that, they vanished, leaving humanity to navigate the stars alone. But stronger than ever, far away, the remnants of the Council watched silently, their arrogance replaced by fear. Humanity had risen not as conquerors, but as protectors. And the galaxy would never be the same again.